What's up, my movers and shakers? I'm Dave, this is MS Paints, and today we're going to talk about how having more Warhammer than you can probably ever paint in your lifetime might actually not be a good thing. I made a video recently about the Warhammer FOMO grind. You know, we talked about, okay, there's more models coming out every weekend and there's big box sets coming out every few weeks. And in conclusion, we basically said, if you're happy buying into the FOMO, then that's great. Just be careful that buying into that FOMO doesn't take you somewhere that is unhappy. And if you are unhappy with it, then now is probably a good time to engage with the issue. Now, I like being surrounded by stuff, as you can see. Being surrounded by stuff for inspiration and ideation can generally be a good thing. But when that stuff stops being just an inspiration and turns into a pressure, then that's probably not what that stuff was ever intended for, right? And that video that I did about Warhammer FOMO had a throwaway comment in it, which was intended to be, you know, slightly humorous in my dry as a packet of cream crackers kind of way. That I will expire before I actually do anything with more than half of the stuff in this basement. And a few days after that video went out, and then a couple of weeks after that video went out, I had a couple of emails from people who had seen it, and they'd said, okay, I sold a load of shit, thanks for that. And I think that's a good thing. Yeah, everywhere from a couple of unopened Leviathan box sets to like, I've rented a van and we're going to get rid of all this Warhammer crap. And I'm like, oh, that's not entirely what I meant. But they said to me they wanted, essentially, I mean, both of them said different things, but they pretty much summed up the same point, which is they wanted the pressure of having, well, the consistent pressure of that stuff needing to be dealt with or done at some point. They wanted that gone. I myself have been moving some stuff on, mostly listing on eBay, just stuff. You can tell it's not important because I can't even remember what it was, even though there's like 90 listings on there. No idea. But I started moving it on primarily for space. But I found that every time I went to do some personal hobby at home, there was just too much noise around getting into gear, essentially, I think is what the issue was. Like, I opened a drawer last week to get my Bushido stuff back out to finish the Bushido starter box. And at the top of that drawer was like a dozen sealed Reaper blister packs for some reason. And then underneath that was my Victrix stuff, because I bought a load of Victrix, like medieval stuff, to do a Bretonnian army on the cheap. And it was like 120 quid's worth of Victrix stuff. And if you guys know Victrix, then you know that 120 quid's worth of Victrix stuff is basically a shipping container by itself. So, yeah. None of those were FOMO purchases. Those were, I guess, what we're talking about more in this video, which is like the ambient, well-intentioned purchases that we kind of find ourselves slipping into, like weekly for some people, daily for others. Yeah. Some of the Bushido stuff I probably only painted about 4 months ago, and already it was fucking buried in just stuff that I don't remember when I got it. And then I was catching up with an old friend over like a video call last week, and he loves his ideation and he loves fun ideas. And he was telling me that he's gonna, along with all the other stuff that he's thinking of doing, he was telling me he was gonna make a Mordheim board, and he was gonna spend like 800 quid on Warcry scenery to make that Mordheim board. So my response was, cool, like what other projects have you done this year and what have you finished? And he said, well, I've done a couple of Lehman Russes for my Imperial Guard project. The Imperial Guard project that needs 10 Lehman Russes. So 2 out of 10 ain't bad, but that's the whole year so far. So I said, rather frankly, maybe you should finish that Guard project or decide whether you want to keep it or not before you spend £800 on Warcry scenery. But then he reiterated how much the idea excited him, and it is an exciting idea, and he wants to do like a central canal and then like a gatehouse bridge over the middle and then cranes on it, and the cranes are like pulling crates off boats that are in the water, and that's a lot of work. It's an exciting idea, but that's a lot of work. And I just kind of flat out had to say, but you're not going to do that though, man. Especially not with Warcry terrain, but that's by the by. And if you really want to build it, what you need to do is buy a load of timber, some MDF sheets, some screws and a drill. That's probably where you want to start. I mean, that's where I start any board build. I think that's where Luke started all of his board builds. It's not exciting, but that's kind of the point. Of course, then he told me to stop being a dick, which is fair enough. But then I said, if you wanted me to not be a dick, then maybe you should have cut the friendship off 15 years ago when we first started hanging out. So that may seem like a tangential anecdote, but the important takeaway from that is, because I do it as well, is we will often sell ourselves on a purchase if we can justify it with a cool idea in the end game. Here's a cool thing I want to buy, and here is the idea to justify what I'm eventually going to do with it. The how and when become immaterial, I guess. I mean, I do it all the time in hobby shops now. It's kind of depressing, really. I'll pick something up on the shelf that's really cool. I'll walk around with it a little bit, and my wife says, what are you going to do with it? And I'm like, you know what? I'm probably never actually going to do anything with it. Of course, ideas and concepts are wonderful things to have when you're thinking of a project, you're starting a project. But a lot of the times, I think the backlog and the pile of shame builds up just through little feel-good purchases. You don't necessarily have an idea for it or anything like that. You just pick it up and think, yeah, that's fucking cool. I'll buy that. But our hobby comes with a certain set of semi-unique caveats. Yeah. It's like when you buy some physical media, you buy a movie, you take the movie home, you unseal it, you watch the movie. That is the purpose of that thing done. You've done it, you've bought it, you've consumed it. You buy conveniently placed vinyl record. This is not a flex, by the way. This just happened to arrive today and is right in front of me. You buy a record, take it out the sleeve, you bang it on a record player, you sit there, you listen to it 45 minutes, and then it's done. But you can use it again. But with the miniature hobby, you have to take it home, open it, cut it off the plastic frame, you have to clean it up, you have to glue it together, then you have to prime it, and all of that is kind of before you can do anything else with it. And if you're doing an idea or a concept outside of the plastic framework, then that's just even more time. And I say this, as I just said, I will pick something up like a box of 5 Space Marines and I'll put it back and say, I'm never going to do anything with that. And I am saying that as someone who works in the miniature painting hobby 40 hours a week, and it's their full-time thing, and I do work pretty quick. Even I'm picking up Marines and thinking, when will I do that? So I have been selling some stuff on eBay. I'm realistic with my prices. eBay is easier than ever to just do price checks, check the sold listings, see what they actually sell for, see what people want to buy them for, be realistic, charge postage, no nonsense, second class, get the fuck out my house. And I'm just kind of moving stuff on, and it's been quite therapeutic to starting with the sealed boxed products, or just the boxed products that are complete and I know what's in there. But that's also the stuff that takes up the most amount of space and the stuff that I haven't done anything with yet or grown attached to. And if you're feeling completely smothered in all of this plastic shite, then you might want to take a swing at moving some stuff on. But there are conflict points. Yeah, I pick something up that I haven't done yet, and the excitement of finding it again comes back, or the idea comes back, the inspiration comes back. And I think to myself, no, I will actually do this. That was a sick idea I had in my head. It went away, so it can't have been that good, but it's back now, and it feels great. There are points, if you try and move stuff on like I am, that you'll definitely come across those. And when I hit that point, I make a deal with myself to, do some hobby, but do the stuff that is already on my workbench, or do something that is completely next to it and needs doing, or I want to do it. It's kind of an internal transaction / contract with myself. I'm using those words to make it obvious, but it feels more healthy than that in my mind. Yeah, anything I'm precious about, like, yeah, no, I'm not quite ready to get rid of this Star Wars Legion First Edition droid army yet. I mean, I definitely should. I definitely should get rid of that though. I will then make a deal with myself to do some hobby. Yeah, to just engage with an ongoing miniature project on my desk and at home. That's the deal that I made with myself. You know, that works for me. It's a small transaction, just with myself mentally, internally. Are you actually going to paint that thing that you said that you were going to do 5 years ago when you bought it? Fine, yeah, you can keep it, but you're going to have to clear that shit that's already on your desk. It does sound like a little bit of tough love, but it is. I suppose, yeah, you do need to be a little bit tough with yourself sometimes. Especially when this stuff is just around and in the way and clogging up space and taking up shelf space. If you're overwhelmed and you're surrounded by stuff, and as always, the workbench is kind of the choke point that dictates how quickly the stuff is going to be realized, yeah, then this advice might be for just something to sit on. Please do not sell everything you own because you think I told you to. I'm happy for those guys, but holy shit. As always, these Talking Ed videos are just kind of like discussion points, really. They're more a stream of consciousness from me. Yeah, let me know in the comments whether you're kind of smothered and surrounded by your own stuff. It's called, I mean, it's generally, I could summarize this entire video in 15 seconds by being, are you a hoarder? That's probably not a good idea. But yeah, it does become more complex when you have what seems to you to be curated collections of stuff. And once you inject the creativity, or some kind of creativity that we have in this hobby, it becomes slightly more intangible and a little bit more difficult to get your paws on. Yeah. Thank you to my wonderful Patreon community for single-handedly keeping me in this chair, well, on this channel, and keeping the lights on, some lights. I'm not sat by the window because the power's been cut off. We are going to be doing probably another one of these for October. We'll see how we do. With October's crazy Halloween video time, and that normally I can't spend an entire week awake doing a Halloween video this year, so I'm going to pace it out and take it a little bit easier. With that said, I will see you next time for either another one of these or the Halloween video. Cheers, I'm out of here.